Hey guys, this is Banning from the Nosebleeds podcast. I'm one of 3 hosts, including Cam and Colin, and each week we have an episode where we talk about everything that happened from the past week in sports, and we also have an Instagram at _nosebleeds_podcast where we try to post daily, and we have daily polls, and we try to stay interactive with the fans. If this interests you and you would like to listen to the podcast, we would greatly appreciate it. We're just starting out. At the time of this recording, we're only 4 episodes in, and each week we're trying to get better and improve. So if this sounds like something you want to listen to, hopefully you'll check us out. We're on Spotify and Apple Music, hopefully YouTube in the future. And if you want to find the older episodes, episode 1 and 2, we are on SoundCloud, but all the new episodes will be on Spotify and Apple Music from now on. And we have updates on our Instagram almost every day. So if this sounds like something you would like to listen to, hopefully you'll check us out, and we'll see you in our next episode.
I am Wes, modern mythology enthusiast and defender of the realm of toy collecting. This is Andy, my fearless friend. Fabulous secrets were revealed to me the day I powered up my dynamic mic and said, "Welcome to Fandom Power!" Andy became the mighty producer Andrew Daw, and I became host Wes, the newest pop culture podcaster on the interwebs. Only 2 others shared this secret, friend of the show and regular co-host Hank McLaughlin, and my lovely wife Kimberly. Together we explore the realms of fandom and bring it to you as only we can. Fandom Power is available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Fandom Power is a Sawcast production.
Welcome back to The Square. I'm your host, Curtis the Fifth.
And I'm Curtis the Fourth.
So, today is a somber day in the Square podcast studios, but it is we're in the middle of the free agency frenzy that is breaking out in the NFL right now. So we are going to kind of react to some of the biggest signings so far. Let's just dive right into it. Let's start off with New England and their aggressive approach to free agency is, I guess, the nice way of putting it. I mean, Bill Belichick comes in, is just making moves left and right. What do you think of the big? I think he's got 6 moves that they have done this offseason now that kind of are major to how the team is going to perform next year. I mean, what's your favorite one? Let's start with that.
Oh, my favorite. I guess. Well, I'm just gonna say Cam. You know, because they took care of what they basically took care of what was necessary, and they did that first, and they needed to lock down a quarterback. We didn't understand what was happening because he was like the first domino, and there was all this talk about how there's a possibility that he still may be the backup, and they're not done shopping and this and that. After we've seen these other 5 signings, I'm just kind of like, I don't think they're going anywhere else with a quarterback at this point. So, favorite is a very subjective term here because I'm not in love with any of these signings.
Maybe not favorite. What signing are you most interested in besides Cam? Because I mean that was
right.
Happened a couple days ago.
Exactly. I mean, I wasn't even liking my answer anyway.
Yeah.
I was just, but yeah, using the word favorite. With that being said, I like Nelson Aguilar. It's an interesting pick, more so than anything.
Yeah,
that's the one that got my attention the most. I'll say that. But
yeah,
kind of a home run pick. But I guess what's most shocking me is that is the sign what they signed him for. So
yeah, his deal, I believe. Let's get it pulled up here. He has a 2-year, $26 million deal. I don't know how much is guaranteed on that. Probably not much. I know a lot of these deals that have been signed for this year, none of them are. They all have like voidable years tacked on to them, so they might be a 4-year deal, but really they're only a 2-year deal in the grand scheme of things. But the Nelson Aguilar one to me was a kind of a head scratcher in my opinion. I'm out on Nelson Aguilar. I think I've been pretty adamant about that over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He is crap to me. He really just has not performed at any comparable level to any sort of success to a team, in my opinion. So, I'm interested to see what Bill Belichick can get out of him. I'm interested to see how he helps out Cam. I know he's a home run, deep threat wide receiver is what he's kind of labeled as, but if you can't catch, you can't catch. So like that's how I look at it.
Right.
To me, the Matt Judon signing, like to help bolster the defense, I think that's huge to kind of help get the ball back to Cam. The wide receivers that they signed, both Kendrick Bourne and, as we talked about, Nelson Aguilar, they just don't do it for me. But you do end up also signing Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. So you got 2 lesser wide receivers, but you got 2 fantastic tight ends. So I'm really interested to see what they do at running back next.
Come on, let's back up there. You okay? You got these 2 wonderful tight ends that they're not blocking tight ends though, which makes it interesting because when they did have Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, they did block and catch.
That's true.
And so again, the word for me has been interesting. These are some interesting pickups because it's like, okay, you bring Cam back. Interesting.
Well, I mean, I like that they brought back Cam because honestly, I felt like what was your better option? You weren't going to get Sam Darnold. New York was not going to trade him within the division. You don't have any real weapons to really go for the home run to try to go get Deshaun Watson or try to get Russell Wilson, in my opinion. And I just really didn't see where they possibly could have gone outside of re-signing Cam Newton to try to get better. I think if you would have went with anybody else outside of those 3, you would have been making a lateral move in the first place. So to re-sign Cam, just give him another shot. Because I remember we talked about the Cam Newton deal, the $14 million. I went back and actually looked at it. It's a base of $5.1 million, I think.
Yep.
And it will work up to, if the team does well, it works up to a $14 million deal. So if they do good, he gets that money, but if they do bad, they're really only paying him $5 million. So it's not that big of an investment as we initially had thought.
Well, then there was the possibility of them going back to try to bring in Jimmy G. So, which I like. I thought that would have been the best move for them to make, even beyond Cam. Cam's not a bad move. I thought that was their second best option outside of who's available, or outside of some mega trade that they would have made, which that's all speculatory. With that being so, I would digress from that. But I thought they were going to make a move for Jimmy G, and I thought that would have gave them, that would have kind of positioned them, where they needed to be as a at the quarterback position, because right now they kind of got, Cam on a 1-year rental again.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, and I guess until I don't know if that's just buying them time into next year's draft or to next year's free agency period or whatever the case, but okay, Cam's there, that's fine. But again, I like the Bourne signing. I think he's going to be interesting as well. Like,
he's definitely better than Nelson Aguilar in my opinion, but
Aguilar showed me enough that he was more of a home run kind of it wasn't so much boom or bust last year, but it was like boom or just kind of average kind of thing. He wasn't but it was with Derek Carr. It was with in Vegas. It's take it how you want to take it. It was just like I didn't get super excited about the deal, but what made it interesting was every time your phone rang or dinged, it was something with New England. So
every time.
Else, right?
Yesterday I was just like, what is? I really wasn't expecting New England to be this aggressive in free agency. They never are. They haven't in the last 10 years made any big moves.
I guess last year to kind of lit a fire under Belichick's tail, and he was like, "Screw this! I'm just gonna grab the best. I'm gonna grab what I want before anybody else
I just
grabs
love
anything."
all of these Bill Belichick New England memes that are coming out now.
Oh,
There's
I have not seen them.
Bill Belichick got his stimmy and now he's going shopping.
Wow.
There's the they do a Bill Belichick's face over the Last Dance where what's his name, Michael Jordan was sitting there and he was talking about how he took it personally.
Yeah.
So they were doing that. I mean, there's a bunch of Bill Belichick memes out there now based off of them going out and being this aggressive that I just love it. I find it hilarious, but I'm shocked that Bill Belichick is spending the money that they have now.
He is.
But I do like that they're putting weapons around because that was the whole issue last year. It was, is it Cam is just this bad now? His shoulder's just done. He can't throw the ball anymore, or is it the fact that these weapons suck? And to me, I guess from last season, going based off of what Tom Brady did with weapons and what he was just that year before when they lost to Tennessee in the divisional or the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think that really attributed more to the lack of weapons that they have than how bad, quote unquote, Cam Newton is as a quarterback. So I think that now they're putting pieces around him. This is really going to give Cam Newton a fair shot at seeing if he's actually got the talent to being a starting quarterback again. He doesn't have to do it 100% with his left. He had 12 touchdowns last year, rushing touchdowns, as compared to 9, I think, passing touchdowns. So now he's got weapons to throw to a degree. I wish you still got some pretty big wide receivers out there. You got Kenny Galladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, Curtis Samuel still out there. Those I think would be better signings at the wide receiver position than what they've already done. But even if they hold pat with what they've got now, I think that they have more weapons than they did last year, and that does give Cam Newton a better opportunity, a better shot, because they still have Julian Edelman there too. So
Exactly.
they still have weapons that I think that will be able to more accurately evaluate Cam Newton's position next year. And hopefully, if they do take off, they do reclaim this division with the signings that they've had made so far. Plus, they've got guys coming back on the defensive end from opting out due to COVID. This team's going to be a million times better than they were. And they weren't that bad last year. They had a couple of bad breaks, and then they ended up just missing out on the playoffs. In all honesty, I think they were about probably 2-3 games back. So I think that the signings that they've made are definitely 2-3 games wins worthy if you compare it to the roster they had last year. So
right.
Any other thoughts on New England?
I just to kind of champion what you said. I really like the fact that they were aggressive, and they went out and got the offensive weapons to put around Cam, because Cam's a weapon all by himself.
Yeah.
Were those wide receivers the most, the most coveted receivers in the bunch? No, but once you seen who they grabbed 1A and 1B of the tight ends free agents, and you put some comparable players around them like a Aguilar and a Bourne, they're not asked to be the number 1 and number 2. They're probably going to be like technically quasi number 3s and number 4 receiver options, especially when we're talking about, and Julian Edelman. He's obviously the number 1 guy. We still have Bird and Harry. But I think these two guys is an upgrade from them.
Yeah.
And I know you're down on Aguilar, but what I'm saying is Aguilar is not the word. I don't think he's not at the back of the pecking order.
No, I'm down on Aguilar as a quote unquote number 2 wide receiver, because when he was with Philadelphia, he was the number 2 to Alshon Jeffrey for so long. So I'm out on him there in that position. I'm not out on him as a piece in a talent on the offensive side of the ball. I think that he definitely does bring some talent. It definitely is an upgrade over the weapons that they've had there. I think N'Keal Harry's a bust. And Bird missed me with that. I'm sorry. Just move on from that. So and then
about 2 games for calling him.
Is Sanu still there? Mohamed Sanu?
Oh no, he got cut a long time ago.
Gotcha.
Mid-season.
Doesn't really matter.
Got sent to another team. Don't remember the team, and got cut from them. I want to say Detroit, but
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I mean that's really, I think, right now free agency winners as it stands, as we are wrapping up day 2 of free agency. I think the winners definitely would be New England so far. Now, before we get into specific signings and specific guys, I think that one thing I wanted to mention is that I think we're speaking of winners right now, losers of free agency. What are the Colts doing? You've got so much money and such a talented team so far. What are you doing?
Maybe it has something to do with the trade, and now they just kind of reevaluating everything. With that being said, it's nothing major flew off the board just yet. But if they were looking at tight ends, that ship has passed for the rest of the league, for that matter.
Honestly, yeah. Unless you really are in love with Jared Cook or Tyler Kroft.
Or was that Arnold from Arizona? Is he?
I don't know.
Exactly, Dan Arnold.
Yeah.
It's. With that being said, it's who knows? I mean, maybe they just feel they're good with the, and I mean they might just come back and talk to their guys, in house and like try to make it, make a deal back for T.Y. Hilton, try to sign him back. I don't know. It seems like they may be going conservative at the moment, but it is only day 2.
The fact that Kenny Galladay and Juju Smith-Schuster haven't gone off the board yet gives me hope for Indianapolis. I think that those are the 2 guys they definitely should be going all in for right now. I wouldn't probably pay Juju Smith-Schuster $15 million a year or anything like that right now. I don't think that he commands that type of money, and you shouldn't be throwing away extra $5 million a year just because you can, which I think Chris Ballard has been fantastic at doing, just kind of managing their money, making sure they're giving value on the contract, not necessarily just trying to get a guy just because the name. But I definitely need to see them do something to help both get some more weapons for Carson Wentz and make sure that they take care of getting some more defensive depth. Just because if you don't have that depth, I mean, injuries we've seen this year can hammer any team. Right. I mean, Kansas City got knocked out of the playoffs, or knocked out of the Super Bowl specifically because of injuries. I mean, that's the case every single year. There's a team that gets just completely decimated. The 49ers this year. I mean, across the board, you see guys go down due to injury or COVID for that matter. And now we want to make sure that you have that depth to continue to make those runs as much as possible, especially with such a young team. You're not having to financially commit to too many guys just yet, so this is your window. So I think they need to just definitely jump on something big soon.
Right.
But let's get into some of the bigger signings that have happened so far. I mean, what do you think is the biggest signing so far? I mean, there's been a lot of defensive guys that have flown off the board. A lot of guys on the offensive side, not as much.
As of today, or is that to this point?
To this point.
I mean, by far, it has to be the Dak Prescott deal.
Besides that one, I mean, within this free agency window that just opened.
The biggest. I didn't mention it when we just talked about New England, but I will say the Bud Dupree signing. I mean, quiet as kept. That's a huge signing, actually.
Bud Dupree to Tennessee. You mean Matt Judon to?
Why am I getting these 2 guys? Yeah, Matt Judon.
Matt Judon over to New England. Yeah, that's a huge one.
That's huge.
Yeah, because you're getting back one of your linebackers. I forget who's coming back for New England. But then you also have the outside taken care of with Matt Judon to help with the pass rush as well. That's huge to me. I think Matt Judon is going to be a game wrecker over there in New England. Honestly, to me, I think Shaquille Barrett in Tampa Bay getting his. It's not a new free agency signing, but it is a re-signing for Tampa Bay for Shaquille Barrett. That one I think is huge. They were able to find some way to get him managed under the cap. Don't know what black magic trickery they used to try to get him under the cap. I don't know,
but some kind of way they had no cap room. Yeah. Now they have all the cap room, and they was able to sign and bring back everybody. Yeah. And what just happened here?
Exactly.
Now I'm completely just hating on Tampa Bay at this point. I'm so sour on them because I knew Shaq Barrett and Chris Godwin was like hanging in the balance. Like you could not have both. And they
found a way. They found a way. But I think the biggest signing to me is going to be not that this is going to change the league as much, but I think one of the most talented defensive ends has flown off the board already, and that's Yannick Ngakoue. He goes to the Raiders on only a 2-year, $26 million deal. I think that's a steal. And he's going to be able to, again, re-up in just 2 more years when he turns 28, still has fantastic football ahead of him, and he's going to be able to re-up when that new TV deal hits. So I think that's going to be huge for him. I'm excited to see what he does out there in Vegas. But yeah, I think Yannick Ngakoue now being taken off the board is a huge one. A lot of these defensive ends, I mean, Romeo Okwara, he goes and re-signs with Detroit. Trey Hendrickson and Carl Lawson. Trey Hendrickson takes Carl Lawson's spot in Cincinnati. Carl Lawson goes over to the Jets. Those were some interesting signings to me, only because I think that Carl Lawson, he's a really talented guy, but he went out there just to go get his money, I would say, because I don't think anybody would be signing with the Jets to go win. And then Trey Hendrickson also wanting to go get his money, a $60 million deal, $32 million guaranteed over 4 years. He's going to go take Carl Lawson's spot in Cincinnati. So, I mean, what do you think of the defensive ends here that have gone off the board? I mean, J.J. Watt happened first. Then you got Carl Lawson, Leonard Williams, Trey Hendrickson, Romeo Okwara, Yannick Ngakoue, Dalvin Tomlinson, Dietrich Wise. All these guys got new deals.
And then what you're seeing is, as much as we like to buzz about the offensive side of the ball and talk about the glitz and glamour of the NFL, from the offensive standpoint, you can see, as the adage goes, defense wins championships.
Yeah.
And they're flying off fast. And if anybody, any franchise in the league needs to be, okay, you need to have a short list for like what defensive player are we thinking about bringing over here, and are we going to, it's only a matter of time. I'm like, within the next 48, 72 hours, these guys can all be gone.
Yeah.
Whether it's re-signings, signing trades, or just massive free agent, frenzy signings going on, and like we've seen in the last 24 hours. I like it because it's aggressive, and these teams they're not doing the obvious, looking for the shiny new toy, trying to get the the nice receiver, or
Yeah.
because outside of really the franchise tag guys with like Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin,
Yeah.
the wide receivers, really, outside of what we've seen with New England, no one has grabbed these. It's a ton of receivers.
Corey Davis went to the Jets.
Okay, and Corey Davis. We got 3 guys that really of note.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest ones that are still on the board. I mean, Antonio Brown's still out there. Juju Smith-Schuster at 24, he's available still, and Kenny Golladay at 27, he's available. I think Kenny Golladay, I would really love to see him go over to Indianapolis, as he's still available there.
Right.
But I mean, there's just so many options there.
But I'm starting to kind of grow on the defenses and the defensive players, because you're starting to see where value is really coming from in the league, and it's definitely coming from the defensive side of the ball just as much as what we're seeing in the offensive side of the ball. And I think we've gotten really caught up personally in this whole Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson thing.
For sure.
It has completely
consumed
distracted me. Oh my God. It's like this was a nice change of pace just in the last 24 hours to kind of break that monotony of headlines that get in podcasts and videos and snippets, and it's still coming. But now I'm distracted by something else. Okay, the NFL is moving forward now. We're out of this crazy, legal tampering, oxymoron statement, we're in free agency, people. That's where we're at today. So today was like day 0, and tomorrow will be day 1, but it's already begun. And so that's my take. Like, I don't even want to talk about anything with Tampa Bay and what they've done, which is why I didn't even think about Shaq Barrett, because I'm like, I haven't even reconciled that within myself.
That's gotta be
how did that happen?
That's got to be the biggest contract right now. The fact that they were able to, let's talk about the linebackers here.
Go right ahead.
I mean, you're able to find a way to have Chris Godwin on a 1-year rental again, with that franchise tag, and then get Shaq Barrett. I know like his cap hit for this year, 2021, is supposed to be somewhere around $5 million only. But he got a big signing bonus, so he doesn't care about that. I mean, he's got that money in the bag right now. He's got $72 million, $36 million of that is guaranteed. And that's over a 4-year period here. So, yeah, I mean, Shaq Barrett, he's locked in for the next 4 years. I think that Tampa Bay, again, that is a steal for them, a 29-year-old who has been a game wrecker in the league right now. He got his money somehow. It's kind of like the same way we were thinking about kind of the Patrick Mahomes deal last year. They found a way to get him his money, but then also have it be a team-friendly deal. Not exactly sure how. I don't. NFL contracts are always wonky. So for them to be able to do that black magic to make it fit under the cap, that definitely bodes well for them. They still got Levante David as well. I mean, Tom Brady restructured his deal to free up some space.
I've never seen this kind of bookkeeping ever in Tampa Bay up until now. You know,
yeah,
like, come on,
for sure. But I mean, let's talk about some other linebackers. I mean, we've already talked about Matt Judon going over to New England, Shaq Barrett, Levante David. To me, the shock of linebackers to be taken off the board. Leonard Floyd re-signing with the Rams on a $64 million deal. Again, I don't know how much is guaranteed of that, but that's over a 4-year stretch. That was a shock to me. I was not expecting him to get that big of a contract. He did play well. I think he had 10.5 sacks last year. So, I mean, Leonard Floyd, your thoughts on him staying in with the Rams and how he fits there?
We made a mention of that back in an earlier show. We were just kind of speculating with. We didn't know what he would possibly do, but I think his best bet was to just stay where he was. I mean, it's a very good defense. Franchise is on pace and in position to be able to compete, and on tap for probably being one of the up and coming teams, or one of the teams on the rise.
Yeah,
that can possibly make a push with the right, with the right signings, which it needed to start with re-signing him. So and he's going to be he's going to be a staple in that defense like he has been like last year. And now they brought him back. Of course, we got the Matthew Stafford thing on the other side of the ball, and so it's just it makes it very interesting of what's going on in LA right now.
Yeah.
And they look like they have not taken a foot off the brake, or they were just happy with what they did last year, or happy with the fact that they made a splash and had a big, a big off season.
They're really trying to make a push.
It's an off season trade, so they didn't kind of just celebrate that and stay on that first rung, and then just that's our free agency for the let's get ready for the draft. That I've seen other franchises do that, and it was refreshing not to see that.
Yeah.
So.
No, I like the deal. I think Leonard Floyd, he had his kind of coming out party with the Rams last year. Like we said in that earlier podcast, I mean, he really just never really found his footing in Chicago. Right. So when he was able to get out from under that and then go ahead and find a scheme that really tailored to his talents, man, he definitely showed up last year in a big way. He was a very big part of what they were doing down in LA. So I'm happy for him. He definitely, I want to see him do well. I like that this is kind of a win-win for both of these guys. On the organization side with the Rams, they needed to make sure that they shored up the position. And then with Leonard Floyd, he got his money. So I definitely like that he got some security over the next 4 years. Don't know how much of that is voidable. I don't know how the Rams broke that up a little bit, but definitely it is good for the next 2 years at least. Now, I think the only other one that kind of flew under the radar as for linebacker signings anyway was Von Miller. He got his team option picked up by Denver. So he's getting paid $17.5 million, up to $17.5 million this year. He has $7 million guaranteed. So I think that I kind of would have hoped that they would have kind of moved off him, because I really feel like Denver is in this position where they're kind of in no man's land. If they don't get a quarterback, then they're screwed, in my opinion.
Right.
So I just really don't see what Denver's direction is here. But Von Miller, he's getting his money, and I think that's good for him, at least, especially after a year where he had to sit out due to injury. So any thoughts on Von Miller there?
It was a move that was expected. I think at this point, what Denver has so many holes and so many problems on the offensive end. Uh, I guess smart money is go ahead and continue to secure your defense,
Yeah.
and then figure out what you're gonna do on the offensive end. So I think with their first two signings, with their name, with their the defensive back,
Oh, Justin Simmons.
Justin Simmons was first franchise tagging him with the possibility of them working out a deal by July, to have him under contract, and then re-signing and taking the option on Von Miller. I think this was probably one of I would have to say arguably this is probably was like 1 and 2 on their list. Like let's secure our let's solidify and secure our defense, and then we're gonna go ahead and you know go start filling in other positions where we're lacking, and because that offense I don't think it's gonna get fixed overnight anyway. But and there's plenty of offensive players out there that they can utilize and plug and play or sign and add on, and of course they got the draft coming up. So I think, like I said, and we kind of touched on it when we were talking about Von Miller before. It's a work in progress. It's going to be just like for what we were speculating, there's going to be a series of deals going on, and this is a team that has to retool itself. And they're in an official rebuild, but they definitely have to rebuild that offense.
Yeah.
But when you got a young quarterback or they're thinking about trying to bring in another quarterback, I think they're doing the smart thing, and that's definitely keep your defense relevant. And they didn't have the worst defense, but they're a middle of the pack defense, and I think these two signings keeps them there. Now the question after now they don't brought these two guys back, where do they go now? It's kind of like, okay, y'all did the obvious. Now
I just think they need to find their identity
Right.
as a team because offensively, it seems like you're clearly not in on Drew Lock. You've got some talent there with Philip Lindsay and Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, but outside of that, doesn't matter if you can't get them the ball.
Right.
So they need to kind of figure out what their identity is going to be, if they're going to be a ground and pound team, if they're going to try to find a guy to go air the ball out this season. But keeping your defense as good as you possibly can. Your defense only gets worse by losing a guy like Von Miller. So to bring him back, I think that was a solid choice for them there.
Yes.
Let's talk about the offense a little bit here. Let's talk about some of the splash signings. I know we kind of went in on the wide receivers already here. I think one thing we haven't been able to talk about just yet is the Aaron Jones signing. That did happen just before free agency hit. Last, I think Friday this happened. So Aaron Jones signs a 4-year, $48 million contract. Don't know how much of that is guaranteed. Don't know what years are voidable yet. But Aaron Jones returning to Green Bay. Not what I would have hoped, but what are your thoughts?
Disappointing. Yeah. Not gonna get into the Bears fandom thing, but there's a Bears fandom thing going on here, and any Bears fan know any success of Green Bay is a problem. There's 32 teams in the league. He had 31 other options, and he didn't take not one of them.
He didn't even take a chance to go see what was out there on the market for him. So
Right.
that's what shocked me. I really would have wanted to. Even if you're going to go back to Green Bay at the end of the day, I wanted to see what he could get on the open market at least. Whether it's Green Bay, not Green Bay, sorry, New England, who's throwing out tons of money apparently, or trying to find another situation where you can still be in contention, but then also make sure that you're still getting your money and see what your market would have been outside of Green Bay.
Right. And that never even went to, that was never put to the test. And we never get to know, we'll never know what his market value is. But again, still solid signing for Green Bay. Definitely they definitely get to keep their depth at running back. They give AJ Dillon another year to kind of they're not going to just throw him out there and expect him just to be the new bell cow over there. And I think it's a way to transition AJ Dillon into the starting lineup over time, but it also gives you the insurance policy and the stability at the running back position by just having him as your starter.
Yeah.
And it takes the pressure definitely off the pass game, even though they are a pass first offense.
Yeah.
But it just gives them that much more balance on their offensive end. So solid signing, probably one of the most solid ones we will see
for sure.
and during the free agency. Just not one I'm in favor of.
Yeah, not happy about it, but I can't knock a good signing when it happens. So
Right.
good job, Green Bay.
Standpoint,
Screw
A+.
you, Green Bay.
Right. A+ from a business standpoint, from a fan, a complete F-. Like, gosh, no thank you.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about the guys under center for a little bit here. We had some signings. We already went into the Dak Prescott signing that happened a week ago here. Let's talk about Jameis Winston. He goes ahead and gets a deal done with New Orleans, 1 year, $12 million, up to $12 million here. A lot of these, outside of Dak Prescott, every quarterback that's signed to a 1 year deal. So
Right.
that is one kind of nice little phenomenon that's just happened.
But what is that saying? Because I'm gonna let you finish, but I'm going to come back to that. I'm just rhetorically going to ask you right now, what is that saying? But
yeah,
go ahead.
Get in a minute. Jameis Winston, though, 1 year, $12 million. And we also need to mention, we haven't been able to talk about it on the show yet, but Drew Brees does retire, so that is official. He is not going to be returning back. And now they have the Taysom Hill contract that they just restructured for. Somehow he's getting $140 million, but somehow he's not getting anywhere near that type of money. These contracts this year with the COVID stuff and all that stuff is completely confusing to me. I don't know how this money is working under the cap or anything like that. But Jameis Winston, he is looking like he's supposed to be the starter for New Orleans. So
that's what I'm confused about.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand Taysom Hill's contract. And then if you sign, typically speaking, you bring a quarterback in on a 1 year deal when there's another quarterback who signed for a multi-year deal.
Yeah.
What is this? So, but I heard reports later stating that they're going to be fighting out, battling it out for the starting position now.
Yeah, Sean Payton came out and said that this is going to be an open QB competition between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill.
But it still doesn't answer my question about Jameis Winston's 1 year deal. Like, you signed a 1 year to. It's all. I guess it's kind of like, well, he was there last year sitting on the bench. I understand he was backing up Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And Drew Brees left. Where's his multi-year deal? Where's his at least 1 year with a 1 year option? I didn't understand the formats. I'm totally just thrown off by how these two contracts came out, because it's like, what is that saying for how they're approaching or looking at these two quarterbacks? From Jameis Winston's standpoint,
I don't think Jameis Winston wanted a long-term deal. I think he wanted to prove himself, and he likes what's going on in New Orleans. He likes the opportunity that he's going to get. I don't think he was going to get a $12 million deal anywhere else. Well,
depends. Depends on how desperate some of these teams are.
Yeah.
I'm using that word, desperate. Yeah, Jameis Winston is not going to Chicago.
No.
Moving on.
Yeah, I think Jameis Winston. I like the deal because I think that him getting the opportunity to compete for a starting job against Taysom Hill, I'm interested to see how that plays out. Even if he has to back up Taysom Hill, I'm really excited to see what New Orleans is going to do at the quarterback position, because if it's Taysom Hill, fantastic. I want to see what Sean Payton has been kind of hinting at over the last 2 seasons about this Swiss Army knife utility quarterback that he has, that he wants to open up to play these new exotic plays that he's been really, really wanting to run over the last few years, but hasn't been able to because he has Hall of Fame quarterback Drew Brees, who can't throw the ball 25 yards on the field.
That's possible. My gut reaction is there'll be a quarterback competition.
Yeah,
of course, but that's obvious. But my gut reaction is that Jameis Winston will win this job. I think he's the most stable, well-rounded, grounded quarterback of the two. I'm not saying that's not taking anything away from Taysom Hill, but what is Taysom Hill? We've seen that little small sample size, and they kind of was running that gimmicky stuff, and then they had to kind of run a basic package. He did not look very impressive to me in the basic package. Meaning, outside of the gimmicky thing, what can he really do consistently? I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying he's never been used that way.
And that's what's interesting because I've been tracking this since we found out that Drew Brees was more than likely going to retire this year. So since the beginning of last season, I definitely was under the impression that they were going to open up the offense a lot more for Taysom Hill and start using him more, but they really never did. And then once Drew Brees went out for a game, they brought in Jameis Winston instead of bringing in Taysom Hill. So I was very confused on to what the plan was with Taysom Hill. But the more and more Sean Payton has talked about him, he keeps saying that he has all of these plays that he really loves, that he's been really wanting to throw out there because he's had Taysom Hill as a quarterback and he's seen him in practice and this, that, the other. He keeps going and he raves about him. So I'm just excited to see what his outlook is going to be, what this new offense is going to be if Taysom Hill wins the job. Right. If Jameis Winston does, I'm excited to see Jameis Winston in a very, very I think it would be a better offense than what they've got going on in Tampa Bay. What Bruce Arians was running with Jameis Winston at quarterback. Obviously, Tom Brady is a different offense. They're running different things, and that it is new in Tampa Bay. So I'm talking about Tampa Bay from 2 years ago, not this last season. So I think that a better offense than that, more stable weapons than that. You got a running back in AK-41. So I'm just across the board excited to see what New Orleans does because I don't care if it's Jameis Winston or if it is Taysom Hill. But the contract works for both Jameis Winston and it works for New Orleans. So, I mean, I think they've got everything figured out. I think that they clearly aren't in the Russell Wilson sweepstakes. I don't think they ever really try to push for him. So I think that this is they've been planning on this specific thing since they knew Drew Brees was going to retire. I think this was their plan all along.
Right, and you were talking about a team that was knocking on the door to the Super Bowl as opposed to a mid-range team just, trying to find their identity or just trying to make some noise in the playoffs or something of that nature. So here we are. But I like the fact that they signed both of them. If nothing else, they definitely locked down their quarterback position, regardless of who's named the starter. So I like the position. I like the direction that they're going in, and now it's just plug and play in wherever else in whatever other positions they need to fill the holes in at this point. But they didn't, 2 days in, didn't waste any time. And we got some other franchise over here just spinning their wheels, and it's, So at least in that aspect, that was very interesting and exciting to see, that they didn't waste any time. Like, I mean, man, they almost like how New England signed 2 tight ends. They already signed 2 quarterbacks. And we're done. We're done and we're moving on, That's how you get work. That's how you get business done in the NFL.
Efficient. They just went in and got it done.
We don't have time. We got, they can go worry about mini camps and they're moving on, we're preparing for the draft.
And they have to prepare for the draft because they do not have any other money to sign anybody. They still have to cut a bunch of people to try to get under, because by I think 3 p.m. Central Time tomorrow, every team needs to be under the 182.5 cap number for the new league year. So there's going to be a lot of signings that happen over the next day and a half, but there's going to be a lot of cuts that happen over the next day and a half. So this is going to be a crazy time, a lot of news coming out. So just stay tuned for all of that. Now, my favorite QB signing so far, outside of the Dak Prescott one, Tyrod Taylor. He got a deal done, and he's going to Houston for 1 year for $12.5 million. Does this open the door for Deshaun Watson to leave and walk away from Houston?
Absolutely not. This is the makings of a new quarterback controversy and competition that we just don't realize, because truth be told, just like the new coach stated, and what's the new coach on
David Culley.
David Culley stated, Deshaun Watson is our guy. He is here in Houston, and he technically is in Houston under contract. He might be somewhere on the other side of the country, but with that being said, I mean, everything's playing out outside of what Deshaun Watson has said. It's all playing out the same, which is very weird because Houston is moving on as if eventually Deshaun Watson is just going to just kind of give in and and show up, and here we are. And now we got this, now we got these 2 quarterbacks, and I was just saying it's kind of being facetious here, but it's setting up for a quarterback controversy. Not so much. It's just in a different kind of way. But the controversy is what are they gonna do with Watson? And now we signed this guy who's trying to come in and get the keys. Watson threw down the keys. He don't care.
Watson's not gonna pick him up.
No, not gonna pick him up. But Tyrod, I don't know if he's ready to drive it because the coach didn't give him permission just yet.
Nope.
So Tyrod, you just another mess.
I was shocked by that Tyrod Taylor wanted to go to that situation. I mean, or not that he wanted to go to that situation, just the fact that he chose to be a part of this now. So
let's come on. Let's state the writing on the wall. It's definitely it's definite now. Deshaun Watson is not coming back. They got their insurance policy. Now, if they went out and signed like Matt Barkley, or we went in Mitchell Trubisky,
AJ McCarron,
right, Blake Bortles, okay, they're just holding out.
Yeah,
I
love Tyrod Taylor, and I think that depending on the rest of Houston moves, barring, let's just assuming that they trade away Deshaun Watson, get a huge haul back, what they can build around Tyrod Taylor, I think is going to be great. And you're in a really decent division to try to go for this. Jacksonville's on the come up. They're going to be ending up with Trevor Lawrence. They've made quite a few moves this offseason so far.
I'm sorry. I'll let you finish. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, Jacksonville, I think, is getting better, and they're going to be in the runnings here. Tennessee, perennial playoff team so far with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, and they've been making moves to try to get that defense stronger and stronger to help stop the run, and for them to be able to compete with Baltimore again. I mean, that has been probably the best battle I've seen, like, as a series, is Baltimore and Tennessee over the last 2 years. This has been fantastic to watch those two go at it. And it's really contentious now. Now it's like a real rivalry. And then you've got what's the other team in that division? Indianapolis, and they're looking at it at a situation where now they've got a quarterback. I think this is going to be the renaissance of Carson Wentz's career. I think that they've got a fantastic defense. They've got a fantastic offensive line. As long as they can put a couple of pieces around Carson Wentz for him to throw to, some weapons, man, I think that team as well is going to be probably one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. Right up there with the NFC West, right up there with, just kind of competing in the AFC in general. I think that it's one of the toughest divisions.
So is it arguably to say that Tyrod Taylor was the best signing for Houston in this offseason so far?
I mean, yeah, for sure. Because I like the situation, because if you're trading away Deshaun Watson, which you're more than likely going to have to, or unless you want to force him to sit out a season, which, again, I can't imagine that happening, but I can't imagine them, from what they've been saying, to trade him away. So it's tough. But we know that Deshaun Watson does not want to play for Houston anymore.
Right.
Tyrod Taylor is the next best option, and it doesn't make you really change your offense too much because Tyrod Taylor is still mobile.
No.
Yeah, so I think that he definitely just kind of fits right in.
And from the business standpoint, it gives Houston leverage that they did not have, or flexibility that they did not have. And I'm saying if they eventually have to go down and, eventually have to get into the inevitable of dealing away their franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
The beauty of this, if there is a beauty of this, like the silver lining to that, to the possibility of losing or having to trade away Deshaun Watson, is the fact you do not have to actually trade for a quarterback now. You could trade in, that's what I meant. It's giving them.
You just gave me hope. Don't do that.
See how I'm trying to navigate around it. Just stay with me. Stay with me on this. You caught where I was going. Yes, but I'm saying that for the league. We know who we're talking about. So yes, exactly. That's why I was letting you talk. That's why I said just hold on. I'm gonna spin this for you. I'm seeing there's a silver lining to this, that, and for all of these bad deals, there was one. This is a very good deal. Man, the league needs to be looking like, oh my God, I have an opportunity to get Deshaun Watson. There should be virtually like 27, 28 teams.
This 100% opens up for teams to.
They have a quarterback now. They don't necessarily have to utilize a quarterback in the deal to get it done anymore. So more assets elsewhere.
Stop talking. You're giving me way too much hope.
Oh,
Stop.
we're gonna segue into that soon enough. But
Yeah.
I'll leave you with that little tidbit. My question, the flip side to that is, if he's the best signing, what's the worst signing in Houston? And then we can move on to the other free agents. I just want to finish this out.
Worst signing in Houston
In the off season, since this free agent, since the off season, like no, not the worst signing. I'm sorry, the worst the worst like departure release.
I mean, I would say JJ. I mean, once it happens, it's going to be Deshaun, but. I don't know. I mean, what were your thoughts? Where are you going with that?
I think JJ would have been the obvious choice, but I think, and I'm just not taking anything away from JJ Watt. I think that there's that much talent to guys sitting in the free agency where he can replace him.
Yeah.
As crazy as that may sound, I'm not speaking down to JJ Watt. It's just his skill set and where he's at now. You can almost replace it with some of the skill sets of the guys that's in the free agency right now. However, there was a different particular transaction that I thought was just as great as that, because who else did they sign just recently?
I must have missed this. I don't know who
was the running back. Didn't they just sign?
Oh, Mark Ingram.
Thank you. Now, who did they release to sign Mark Ingram?
I don't know. I didn't track that. Who did they sign?
Duke Johnson.
Ah.
What did Duke Johnson do to Houston? There was nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
He didn't have a down year.
Okay.
His number has been like he's been the next guy up time and time again. What has Houston done? They just keep bringing somebody else in, and he just keeps he just keeps waiting his turn, and now they just let him go into free agency. The man is solid. For Cleveland, it was just a business deal. They had to move him.
Yeah.
Or they felt the need to.
I think it's probably the fact that David Johnson's contract is in the way of that then, because that you can't have that much money in that position for the level of talent that they're putting out there at that position. You can't.
Okay, I'll give you that. So explain Mark Ingram to me then.
That one I was baffled by. I had no idea why they signed Mark Ingram. I don't get it. That's tough. It's
Now to answer the question that I messed up on, the question I wasn't trying to ask, who was the worst signing that they did? There it is for me. I'm like, what? It doesn't even make sense. You let go Duke Johnson to get Mark Ingram. You can sit there and say, we have David Johnson who can catch passes out. So we're gonna use Mark Ingram with his how many yards per carry does he average on a third down back? Like, is he gonna?
You're right. It's the more and more I think about it, it is a very confusing.
It's hustling
signing.
Backwards is the way I see it. I didn't understand the move where you were fine with Duke Johnson. Maybe Duke Johnson is going to be this kind of journeyman that's just going to keep getting passed over. But what I'm saying that to say, I'm very interested to see I like Duke Johnson. I like his skill set. And I think
you keep picking him up in fantasy. So
man, he's solid. But for all of this, can they always talk about these backs and can they cast out of the backfield and like remember like Buffalo, they talked about their whole running game situation. Okay, a Duke Johnson would have solved all of that, but they don't want Duke Johnson. They want Mike.
I think it's the name. It's just he like you said, he's just going to be this perennial journeyman, and he's just going to have that stigma where we even though being a journeyman isn't that bad in the NFL, that means that you are good enough to be in the league wherever it may be. You're good enough to be on a roster no matter what.
Houston is replacing journeyman with journeyman,
which makes
no. I've never even seen that before. Yeah. I guess now I'm speaking to the indictment of Houston and why we're in this mess. Why they're in this mess now?
Yeah,
because I'm like the fact that you didn't even remember Mark Ingram off the top of your head that he just did it a couple of days ago.
And we literally just talked about it in the middle of before we started.
Even when it came out, it didn't even break like normal news. It was just kind of a sidebar thing. And
it was in the midst of everything that was happening in day one. And
he was the number 2 running back to get. I would think that would be on day one would be somewhat significant.
Well, I think what's happening with the running back and the wide receiver position this year is that teams are realizing, let's go, instead of just going and just dumping in for a name, let's go get the most valuable guy, and that happens in day 3, 4, 5 of free agency. Does not happen on day 1 or 2.
Okay.
So I think that Kenny Galladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, and this is what I was excited in Pro Football Talk. Definitely talked about this yesterday. I was actually happy to see that Juju did not get a huge deal this year, because last year and the year before proved it. Juju Smith-Schuster is a number 2 wide receiver. He is not a number 1. He does not deserve 15, 16, 17 million dollars a year. Kenny Galladay, I think, does, but not Juju.
Could we go back in time just slightly about Juju? Juju had gotten this quasi, tag of being the number 1 by way of the debacle that happened with Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
And they just kind of just slid him and just say, he's just the number 1 guy. But just, okay, you can be number 1 by title, but yeah, let's see performance. Not that he didn't have, not speaking about last year, but the year before, wasn't necessarily a down year, but it did not rave number 1 receivers, numbers either.
And if we go back to the time where he was with Antonio Brown and that whole debacle, the only reason why he had better numbers than that final season than Antonio Brown is because everybody was keyed in on Antonio Brown. They were shutting him down. They were bracketing him. They were doing the same thing that Tampa Bay did to Kansas City. You played 2 over the top to stop anything going deep, to stop Tyreek Hill, and you bracket Travis Kelce to make sure that he doesn't get his. So that was the whole crux, the whole basis, everything that they were trying to do. And they completely shut down Antonio Brown at that time. So then, not completely, because Antonio Brown still had a fantastic season. He just didn't play that last game of the year. But Juju ate that year. And that's where a lot of people, and this is what pissed off Antonio Brown, was the fact that the team ended up saying that, MVP of the season for us is going to be Juju because of his numbers and everything that he did. He was like, wait a minute. I was taking the number 1 guy. I was getting double teamed every single week, sometimes triple teamed, and this dude only got those receptions because of me. What are you talking about? Where's my value?
Right. And he took advantage of a situation like any number 2 should.
Exactly.
But yeah, he ended up getting this. I mean, man, he just ended up getting this unfair, undeserving, tag of just he's the number 1 guy right now.
He's our new guy, and I'm like, I didn't see it, I didn't expect it, and I don't think that he deserved it. But he still got talent, and I think he is a very good number 2 wide receiver. He takes he takes advantage of that situation where the focus is on the number 1 guy. I'm gonna eat over the middle. I'm gonna eat on these drag routes with these 2, 3, 5 yard routes. I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna go to the house with them.
And my criteria for the number 1 wide receiver.
You gotta have that dog in him.
Gotta have it. And he doesn't. He's a tweener. He doesn't necessarily have it, but he doesn't mean he doesn't play soft either. I'm not saying that. He just does not have that next level.
Yeah.
That it factor that that strikes fear in a number 1.
Yeah.
Like the guy on the other side should be nervous. He should be basically lack of sleep going into Sunday's game or Monday night's game. And it's just like, okay, it's Juju. We're gonna run a scheme.
Yeah.
And we got you. And we seen it last year. But the other part of that, of course, was Ben Roethlisberger. Let's digress. We're not talking about.
There's nothing. We've gone in on Ben Roethlisberger enough.
Exactly. But that was my thing.
Yeah.
I know we were talking about Duke Johnson. We're all the way in Pittsburgh now.
Yeah, sorry. It doesn't. What I wanted
Duke
to
Johnson to Pittsburgh.
No, I think with Juju Smith-Schuster, unfortunately, I think his best spot to go to is within the NFC North, Green Bay.
I don't like that. I don't like it at all. Why would you even say that?
Because it makes too much sense.
No,
they need a number 2.
No, they need a number 2. Detroit needs a number 1, 2, and 3. So you could put them at any spot. Chicago needs a number 2.
Yes, that's true.
Or number 3.
But I don't think we wouldn't have the money to get
I was just
anyway.
going down the list, and then who was the other team? Well,
Minnesota.
They need
number 1. Well, depending on what Justin Jefferson does, it's his rookie year. I'm sorry.
I just. What's the other guy?
Oh, Adam Thielen.
Why is he? He's number 2 to me. I don't get number 1 status. I mean, he's a fish.
He did the same thing that he literally did the exact same thing that happened with Antonio Brown with Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's what I thought.
A lot of people just went in 2 years ago that Adam Thielen was the best thing, especially because he's a homegrown guy, this, that, the other. And I'm like, dude, no. Stephon Diggs is the one with the talent.
The wrong one.
They wouldn't commit to him for some reason, and I don't know if it was
Watch who's going to have a longer career.
Oh, so Stephon Diggs. I mean, we saw him last year. You put him in with Buffalo with a competent.
And Thielen is not old,
Jesus
but watch
Christ.
who's going to have a longer career. Just watch.
But look, that's what I was saying. It's just I think that Minnesota definitely messed up there. But I don't see him choosing to go to Chicago with our dysfunction right now. Detroit dysfunction doesn't make any sense. Minnesota, they've got a lot of stuff to figure out. They've got a lot of money restraints right now. So honestly, the best fit, you're looking to go win a championship for one. You're looking to fit the role that you want to. Unfortunately, Green Bay meets both of that criteria. You've already played in crappy weather in Pittsburgh. Right. Like, that's not going to slow you down any bit. I don't like saying it, but it just makes too much sense.
Well, what would be a good slanting spot for him in the AFC? I understand the NFC.
In the AFC,
being he's not being traded over there, so
yeah,
he doesn't necessarily. Yeah, as I'm saying, he won't necessarily be in the NFC.
Who needs? I mean, I'm
just saying,
the other team that came to mind was another NFC team, Arizona.
Yeah,
you need number 2 playing a dome.
You really got this guy going to the NFC. I see.
I think you would. I think that's the teams that really need it. I mean, Indianapolis clearly they need weapons in general.
Okay. Well, yeah, that is true. I know you said it now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe he goes to Cleveland. He realized that they're not just the same old Browns.
We still don't know what they're gonna do with Odell Beckham just yet.
Well, Odell Beckham has been sending out some cryptic tweets today. Apparently, they're supposed to be in relation to his ACL tear recovery, but it sounded like there is an imminent something happening with OBJ. Don't know, but everybody's kind of on watch to see what's happening with him. It seems like he's on the trading block, and if you want to try to fit another, well, maybe Cleveland doesn't work out because I think. Do you think Jarvis Landry is a number 1?
Absolutely not. I mean, he's arguably the number 2 at this point, and he has number 2. He has the skill set. He has the talent. I just don't think it's gonna happen in Cleveland. I just don't think for whatever reason it's not a fit for him. With that being said, something with the receivers and Baker Mayfield have not necessarily worked out.
I think it's only OBJ that hasn't worked out because at the end of the day, this offense is completely opened up once they didn't have to force feed OBJ, or they weren't trying to force feed OBJ. Mm-hmm. You had those 4 weeks of that where we were like, okay, now it looks like it's a Baker Mayfield problem, not a Cleveland Browns problem. Right. And then you go sit OBJ because he gets injured, and then this offense completely opened up. They were running the ball efficiently because that was they're a run first team. Let's keep that in mind. But when Baker Mayfield had to make a play, he could because he wasn't trying to force feed. He was making his reads the way he was supposed to, not trying to get OBJ his touches.
Right, and now we translate that over to Landry, and maybe that's where Landry, kind of thrives and flourishes because then he has the talent to take over and have wide receiver 1 type numbers, but for how they're using and the schemes that they're using, they're not. He's not getting the volume or he's not getting the routes that will even translate over to that. But he's very efficient, and I guess if they can get maybe a better number 1 over there, that I think because Landry, when you look at Landry and OBJ, like before coming into last year,
yeah.
You arguably had 2 number 1s sitting there.
It felt like it, and you were just sitting there like, well, this is 1A, 1B. It's not 1-2.
Right, and then we got to see basically wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 performances out of both of these guys combined. Yeah, which was and that's getting into the other stuff as to other things factored into that. But
2 years ago it was just Freddie Kitchens didn't know how to run an offense, and I don't know what made Cleveland think that he was the right man for the job, but. Last year, I think it was definitely just the fact that...
even with Kitchens, Landry 8, he had a much better season 2 years ago than he did last year.
Yeah, fair.
Which was interesting. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but my whole thing is just like I feel like Baker Mayfield himself. I don't know if it's the organization putting pressure on Baker Mayfield to get OBJ the ball because they made this blockbuster trade 2 years ago, or if it was the fact that just Baker Mayfield himself was like, I got this dude here. I need to get he's got to get involved. I need to get him the ball. And he was forced. He's literally forcing the ball into these windows. It just made no sense, and he was throwing picks. We were like, well, he clearly is not a number 1 overall pick. But then you go and have a balanced offense for the rest of the year. I'm like, Baker Mayfield is the number 1 overall pick. He definitely is one of those guys that can be a franchise quarterback. He got the freaking Browns to the second round of the playoffs. Are you serious? Like, come on.
Right. Was they one game out of the division, winning the division, 1 game back or something?
1 or 2. I mean, it was close. I mean, and they were right up there with Baltimore.
Right. They didn't have to scrape to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever. So we'll see how that plays out. But
but we were talking about Juju and wide receivers. So I mean,
no, we were actually talking about Duke Johnson.
Duke Johnson.
But go ahead.
I moved on to that. Yeah.
When did we move on? I never moved on. I was
moved on.
still talking about Duke Johnson.
No, so I mean, the only other guys that are left, really the big names to me that are left for wide receivers outside of Juju, we mentioned it, Kenny Galladay.
Yep. Antonio Brown.
And Antonio Brown, Curtis Samuel, I think is huge. Will Fuller. I mean, you've been getting me.
You're not very big on.
I'm not, but I have been coming around. If he can stay healthy, if he finds the right spot, I definitely find that's where the value comes.
Exactly.
As long as he stays healthy and he's in the right position where he is a number 2, not a number 1, you can't rely on him because of the injury probability that he has. I'm interested to see, especially at 26, where he goes. And then also I want to mention T.Y. Hilton just because I'm a fanboy for T.Y. Hilton and I want to see him go somewhere where he can have success. I don't want to see him re-sign with Indianapolis.
Really?
In all honesty, I want to see him go somewhere else. Just get a change of pace. Just restart, reset, and go in somewhere else. Get a 2-year deal somewhere. Go cheap and just go get a win where you don't have to be the number 1 guy. Go to Tampa Bay. Go to Kansas City.
Do you want better? Oh,
Chicago.
You talking about to win a ring?
I mean,
or just to play somewhere.
Just to play somewhere.
I could see him in Arizona.
I like that too.
I think that would be a nice spot for him.
Yeah,
especially with the Fitzgerald starting to phase himself out of
Yeah, Fitzgerald is still there. You got what's his name? The young wide receiver. No. The number 2 over there now. I forget his name. Not Andy Isabella. There's another guy.
Oh, you're talking about Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk, yes. I really like him, and for you to kind of be the 2A, 2B, T.Y. Hilton, Christian Kirk, I would like that little tandem with having DeAndre Hopkins on the other end. I mean, that would be amazing for them.
Put T.Y. in the slot, then you still have a Fitzgerald that can come in, and
at any point and take over.
Yeah, exactly, and play the Z. You know. Not a bad position to have as a Z route guy. So
yeah, not at all. I think that is the crux of just about everything on the offensive side of the QBs that are still on the board. I know we talked about Cam Newton, we talked about Tyrod Taylor. The big one, the big fish, Ryan Fitzpatrick over in Washington. How do you feel about them having their 3 quarterback room again?
I guess I want to answer that as you asked me, but I think it would be more appropriate if you answered it. How do you feel about Sam, you was really big on, really sweet on Alex Smith. So with that being said, how do you feel about Ryan? I have a take.
I don't have a problem with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I just don't see why Washington is doing this 3 quarterback room again. You have the guy that you like. I mean, why would you re-sign Kyle Allen if you wanted to have Ryan Fitzpatrick come in? You Taylor Heineke is your best option right now within that room. Reliever Ryan Fitzpatrick. Where does Kyle Allen fit in this?
Well, I that remains to be seen.
I feel like that's a wasted contract.
Could be. I don't think Ron Rivera really knows what he has just yet, and I think he's going to take this year to figure it out. Alex Smith is gone. Like I said, there's a Taylor Heineke now. They re-signed Kyle Allen, which I'm kind of head scratching myself about that. That's the one I'm not understanding at all.
Okay,
but then you bring in a Ryan Fitzpatrick, which is an insurance policy, but you kind of signed Kyle Allen as an insurance policy.
How many insurance policies do you need?
Exactly. As many as necessary, according to Ron Rivera. But that's what I'm thinking. I just don't think he's sure just yet. But he's giving himself all. He's giving himself all the options that he needs to try to figure out who his starting quarterback is. So I'm not against it, because look at the three names. Okay, who really leads the pack here? I mean, right now, if I had to choose one, I probably would just, in a 1-year vacuum, or I'm taking Fitzpatrick just based
100%.
on right.
I mean, no, I think I probably would take Taylor Heineke just because of the upside that he had.
I said a 1-year vacuum. That's why I said it that way. Because if you're talking about the career, I'm like,
no. What I'm saying is because we've only had 2 games of Taylor Heineke.
Right.
That's that. I mean, it's hard to choose between.
Just notice we agree.
Yeah.
We don't want to say Kyle Allen.
Yes.
That's. I want to be clear.
Like I said, it feels like it's a wasted contract. I know it's not a lot of money that you gave him, but still, in a cap-strapped year, why are you giving money to guys that you don't need to? It doesn't. You have an insurance policy in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Go run it with Taylor Heineke, and then you got Fitzpatrick to back him up. Why are you wasting however much money you're wasting?
Maybe the Dwayne Haskins thing got him jaded. I don't know. But I'm not necessarily gonna knock it, because Ron Rivera seemingly he does some kind of unorthodox things, but more times than not, it seems to work out. Some kind of, it's just one of those. Okay, I'm gonna give you the space to let's see how this plays out.
Yeah.
I don't understand Kyle Allen, but let's see how this plays out.
Yeah,
it's more of that than anything. But I like I said, I like them. I like the fact that he did it. I'm gonna say I don't have a problem with what he did. It's just it comes with understanding. I just don't believe he knows what he has.
Yeah.
So, but I think the Fitzpatrick thing does make football team interesting though, because
I like Ryan Fitzpatrick in Washington. I think that does fit well, and I think it does open the opportunity for them to go in this season saying, we won it last year. We can put in a couple more pieces around. Let's try to go after it this year.
And it's also going to kill that trade rumor noise with the Sam Darnold to the football team.
Yes.
So that's done.
There's no way you're putting 4 quarterbacks in that.
Unless you just sign one to trade one. That's kind of aggressive, but we don't see that often.
Jets are going. Who are you going to trade over there?
We'll trade him back Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I don't think they would do that, because you're going to probably end up using the pick for Zach Wilson.
No, they're not going to do that. I would just make it fun.
All right. Now let's talk about the tragic QB, Andy Dalton. He signs over into Chicago. Or is there somebody else you wanted to talk about first?
There is.
Oh, who's that?
Go over to Miami.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett?
Yes. So before we get into that, because as we were preparing for the show, that's when I finally seen it. It was just, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, no, that
I couldn't even have time to process
that happened
this.
Probably 10 minutes before you came in the door today.
Okay.
So it literally just happened. Yeah, I like it. I think that because it seems like Miami is starting to come to the realization, or a lot of teams are coming to the realization, Houston is actually serious about holding out on Deshaun Watson. Let's shore up our QB room. We lost Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was the reliever for Tua. Let's give Tua the opportunity to win the position and continue being our franchise quarterback. And let's back him up with somebody who can definitely command and win games in Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, I like the move. Yeah, and this whole Deshaun Watson thing. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, as you just said, I wouldn't necessarily rule out Miami, because you just never know why some of these teams sign these extra quarterbacks.
True.
Which is what you're about to segue into is really getting me excited. So for various reasons, I said excited, kind of pissed.
Yeah,
but excited. Silver lining thing again. Go ahead.
So I am not going to overreact to Chicago not getting Russell Wilson as of right now. Because it seems like Seattle is now hell-bent on saying we're not trading him this year. We are going to run it back with Russell Wilson no matter what. but they're also not signing anybody to protect him, so they're gonna just piss him off again. But hey, we'll get into that. That's gonna be we're gonna have a separate show strictly about Chicago and their offseason and what's happening with Russell Wilson and all that. It's gonna be a separate episode. Let's talk about the Andy Dalton signing specifically for Chicago. I don't hate it. I am just disappointed. That's really as far as I can really go with it. I wish that if we were signing any quarterback this year outside of the big two, I really wish it would have been Sam Darnold and making a deal to go get him. But Andy Dalton, he, like you said, he didn't have terrible numbers at the end of the year after his concussion. He came back, played very solid in a very crappy team that didn't have any way of protecting him. So let's see what he can do with Allen Robinson, a bona fide number one receiver. Let's see what he can do with Cole Kmet, an up-and-coming tight end. You got Tariq Cohen hopefully coming back. He's recovering nicely from his ACL tear. And you've got David Montgomery. So, I mean, let's see what you can do this year. Still want to see Nick Foles off this roster, but Andy Dalton, he is definitely a upgrade from him, Nick Foles. So I'm not mad at it.
And let's hear these numbers again. Andy Dalton's 33 years old, so take that for what it is. 2,170 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 87.3 QB rating.
Yeah.
That's not bad numbers. You know, I don't think he passed the eye test. It just didn't look good.
Well, and it was Dallas. I mean, it was a team that was dead in the water. So, right. I mean, everybody knows how out I am on Dallas. I've made it very well known on this podcast. But yeah, I think again, like I said, I wish they would have exhausted the Sam Darnold possibility more before going to sign Andy Dalton, because I don't think anybody was clamoring to go get Andy Dalton. But I think there was one other team that was competing for him. I don't remember exactly who it was. There was a tweet about it.
Okay, but I didn't catch that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I don't think Andy Dalton was going to sign specifically right now with one other offer on the table. So, but again, it's a 1 year, $10 million deal with incentives that bumps it up to $13 million. So, depending on how good he does, we're paying a 1 year rental. We're going to be right back in this boat next year. We're going to see where we're going to be at the end of everything and who's available next year. Is Deshaun Watson going to be right in the same position where he's holding out against Houston, or is Russell Wilson going to be saying, you guys screwed me over? So Chicago is going to be in a really interesting position next year.
It looks that way right now, but I will wait for our Bears segment before I really share my thoughts. I'm just kind of, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I have a take though. I have a silver lining take here. That's something's brewing where I'm kind of like, I was a little down on it, but something got there's a chance that this can this can turn for the best.
Yeah.
But I digress.
All right. Well, basically that's really mainly everything that's happened so far in the free agency. So this is just a big update that we wanted to do. Anybody else that you wanted to talk about? Any other signings that you saw that caught your eye?
I'm looking really quickly, and let's just talk about Corey Davis. I mean, I know we just kind of glossed over it.
We ran right past that basically.
Sorry, Corey Davis. We just there's lots going on right now.
For me, I think it was more of a money grab. I don't see it. I don't know why anybody would want to go to the Jets when you don't know the quarterback situation right as a wide receiver anyway. You don't know the quarterback situation. What are you doing?
Half glass half full. You're looking at this wrong. Come on. Come on. Use your imagination.
Okay.
We are the Jets organization. Stop looking at this from the player side.
Okay. From the Jets side, fantastic signing.
Thank you. Let's just look at it for what it is. We're so quick to just take the negative and just run with it.
Sorry. There's not much positive to talk about with the Jets. Sorry.
Fair. It's fair. I just like. I mean, I've listened to our episodes, man. We rag on a lot of teams. I mean, relentlessly. And I guess I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
You.
We meaning me, but because I'm down on a lot of these players.
Yeah.
But I was actually impressed at the fact that the Jets on day one decided to step up and answer the phone and act and make some calls and get something done. Like they were aggressive. Because I mean, anybody would have been fine. I'm talking about anybody in the country would have been fine with, as much as we hear the Jets name, and they got the number 2 pick in the draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got the number 2, and it don't go much further from that. It's just in the possibility of Deshaun Watson.
23.
Okay, they got 2 number 1s. Okay.
Yeah, they had 2 number 1s this year and 2 number 1s next year.
Nice.
Yeah.
But with that being, with that stated, now the fact that it's just the narrative has always been the same, that they're just gonna kind of wait for the draft, status quo, they're just gonna get who they need to get, plug in, and try to put a comparable team out there. There's the Deshaun Watson possibility that Deshaun Watson never went on record saying that he wants to go to New York, or any New York team for that matter. And it's just speculatory. It's one of those pipe dream type stories. Like, if I'm a New York Jets fan, it's just them. Man, wouldn't it be nice to have Deshaun Watson? And that's their off season. And then day one come out, and they get one of the top 5, 6 wide receivers right off the bat in Corey Davis.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now you put him with you pair him with why am I losing this man's name? The other wide receiver over there. With the Jets. Oh no, he had a very good. Oh my goodness. They just let go of Brashad Perryman, but the one who played opposite of him.
I don't know.
He was the number 1. Goodness.
Miller?
No. This is why this is what it's like to be with the Jets. I can't even remember the guy's name. Oh, Crowder. Jamison Crowder.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
right. Playing on the Jets. So I mean, but you put Corey Davis and Jamison Crowder together, and you still got Sam Darnold. Not a bad, just from that little tandem.
Mm-hmm.
That's an upgrade from what they had last year. Taking nothing away from Brashad Perryman, but Brashad Perryman is not Corey Davis. And they can definitely end up bringing Brashad Perryman back. If they want to.
I mean, they still have Braxton Berrios too,
and you have him. So they have a few. That's a nice. It just, at least for day one, it just showed me at least they're not just going to take it on the chin this year.
Yeah.
At least they did something.
Yeah,
in day one.
I do like them making moves. And I mean, at the end of the day, I do appreciate the Jets. If you are going to stick with Sam Darnold, put something freaking around the man.
Right.
Give him something to throw to. And maybe if you don't go with Zach Wilson at the number 2 pick, go get one of these tackles to protect him even more than you didn't, because you went to go get a tackle last year. Do it again this year.
Right.
There's no reason not to. So let's protect him. If you are going to stay with Sam Darnold, if you're going to move off of him, cool. You need to bring somebody in for Zach Wilson anyway. So
right.
Go ahead and do that.
And that's the thing with them having a number 2, and I keep hearing Zach Wilson's name keep coming up, and Sam Darnold's name in a lot of trade talks. They're not done, but them to sign Corey Day, I was like, wow, they're active.
Yeah, they're gonna do something big.
They wasn't active in the last few seasons. They were just, they just dialed it in for the year. Status quo, and we got what we got, which was horrible.
Well, I mean, they did have that one big signing with Le'Veon Bell, but you put him into Adam Gase's offense, and you see what happens.
Right, and that never got off the ground whatsoever. Yeah. So,
all right. Oh, and then I guess I'm sorry that I've even glossed even more over this. Let's talk about some of the big uglies up front. Offensive linemen. I think this might actually be the biggest signing that happened, and it's with your team. Joe Thuney goes to Kansas City. That was absolutely insane to me. That one came out of left field, day one of free agency. I did not see that coming. I thought they were going to probably try to go get tackle, maybe go get a cheaper guy like Russell Okung. If you want to go get an interior lineman, go ahead, try to get Lane Taylor, or go get Nick Easton, or maybe go to New England and try to pick up David Andrews. But they went and got the big guy. Joe Thuney is to me, the number 1 guy, maybe number 2 with Corey Linsley. But they went and got a guard to really help protect and bolster the depth of that Kansas City offensive line after losing tackles like Mitchell Schwartz and what's the other guy's name?
No.
Crap, I forget his name. But they lost both their starting tackles. But on an $80 million deal, $32 million guaranteed. This is for 5 years. I think it's voidable after 2. But man, I think Joe Thuney over there starting at the guard position. What do you think about him protecting Patrick Mahomes back there?
I'm excited. I've had a Super Bowl hangover for quite a while.
Yeah.
And all I've been watching during this hangover is watching Tampa Bay get stronger and retool everything. And up until probably about, early this morning or this early afternoon, I was kind of worried. I've been worrying about this. Like, I was like, man, what is Kansas City doing in comparison to what Tampa Bay is doing? And, not that their situations are necessarily the same, but what brought me back to center was this deal. I was like, wait a minute. First of all, they were 14-2, 16-2 or 16-1, going into the Super Bowl. I keep getting caught up in what happened in the Super Bowl and ignore everything that happened before that.
Yeah.
Why did they lose in the Super Bowl? Because of this offensive line.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's exactly what needs to happen for Kansas City. Kansas City don't need to do anything besides they can run it back, just bring and strengthen your offensive line, and we're good to go. I had to kind of bring
some DBs.
I mean, it always can help. I'm just saying, if they was to bring their team back as is, but
okay,
plus in addition of that, retooling your offensive line, okay, Kansas City's back in business. I don't look at Tampa Bay necessarily as the ongoing favorite, number one team in the entire league type of thing.
I mean, I think they had a great year. They definitely are making moves to try to retool and do it again. But I don't think that anything that they've done so far, because they haven't made any big moves. I mean, still you don't have Antonio Brown. You still don't have Leonard Fournette under contract. So you're losing major guys that were big parts of you winning a Super Bowl last year.
Right.
What are you going to do to replace them?
Right. And I don't, and let's be real about, Tampa Bay. They had all of these massive upgrades on the offensive side throughout the season, and that's what got them over the hump with a solid defense.
Yeah.
Not taking anything away from that, but yeah, if you ain't got these over the Gronkowskis, the Antonio Browns, the Leonard Fournettes, I mean, come on, dude. I'm like, man, where you finding these free agents? They not just sitting around waiting around in the league, just decided to pass on these guys. These guys are only and specifically coming to play for you all, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But the point being is, okay, let's take some of them away. It's just Ronald Jones and whoever the other guy was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's just Godwin and Evans and Scotty Miller. No, Antonio Brown. And then, in this, you have your Cameron Brate and your OJ Howard. Not no Gronkowski, because I'm like, man, I've never seen how you could be 3 deep in tight ends. All 3 can arguably at the end of the year find themselves in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
But the numbers that they could put up if he was just to spread the ball around. But taking some of those pieces away, okay, let's flatten the talent pool back out. Now you ain't got this souped up offense. And I'm looking at Kansas City, who's already has a naturally Golden State Warrior type, built from organically.
They're gonna be back next year for sure.
That's what I mean, the Super Bowl loss was so bad, it made me forget they were 16-1 going into the Super Bowl. Like,
so the reason why
I'm sorry,
Joe Thuney
16-2. I keep forgetting about the week 17. I don't even count that week.
It's fine.
Moving on.
Yeah. The reason why I like the Joe Thuney signing even more than any other really offensive lineman is because even though they lost both their starting tackles, I think that the interior offensive line is even more important for them, because that allows Patrick Mahomes to step up in the pocket instead of having to run backwards.
Right.
So if they do come in off the edge, all you got to do is step up, reposition yourself to allow that block to be re-engaged, and then you can get outside, or you can go right up the middle, or you can make that throw to Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, or whatever wide receiver they ended up going to go get in this offseason. So, I mean, you're going to have the ability to go do what you got to do within that by just securing the interior, so he doesn't have to run backwards anymore. He can just stay there, be confident in the pocket, and step up into it if he ever has that duress that he's under. So I really do like that signing. I like the depth that it gives them at interior line. I do want to see them go to get something at tackle. Doesn't have to be anything outlandish and something super big, but just something where it's better than what you had going into that Super Bowl.
Right.
Because if we just have guys screaming it off the edge, even though, like I said, the interior line is a little bit more important at this point, but you still want to shore up the position as much as possible. So I think that is the number one thing that they have to continue to do. But then also looking at Kansas City's other issues, getting maybe one more weapon, and then also taking care of the defensive back situation is going to be key to them going and try to continue this kind of dynastic view. Now, what I am super elated to see at the offensive line position, Corey Linsley from Green Bay. First of all, he's leaving Green Bay, allowing Aaron Rodgers to get hit a couple more times a game. Definitely glad to see that. But he's going to the Chargers, where they are going in and really trying to protect Justin Herbert. So I really like that they're really just trying to bolstering. And I mean, definitely they've got the weapons that they do on the outside. And I think that they probably need to go get one or two more. But to shore up the offensive line so that he can just actually make his reads and continue to develop as a quarterback mentally. I like that. I like to see what step Justin Herbert's going to take next based off of this signing alone.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Guys, just kind of housekeeping stuff for the show. Follow us on YouTube if you want to listen to us there. Otherwise, wherever you get your podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere, definitely go follow us there, and like, rate, subscribe. Please do that, because that will definitely help out the show growing a little bit more. Comment what you've been thinking about with these signings for the first 2 days. What are we wrong about? What are we right about? What should we be kind of keying in more on with some of the lesser known deals? And definitely go again, follow us on Twitter. It's at @the_square pod. You got anything to wrap up?
No, that's much it. Make sure you share it with a friend.
Yeah, please do. Well, that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
All right, next time.